Well, if everybody's ready. You good? Oh, okay. Well, good afternoon. According to the National Weather Service, Indianapolis is on the verge of being hit by another blast of winter weather. And as mayor, I am calling on all citizens, all residents of Indianapolis to take extra precaution. Rain, sleet, snow, and ice are expected within the next 24 to 48 hours as temperatures will this evening into the morning hours significantly drop and roads may very well become potentially hazardous. If you must travel either by foot or by car, tread carefully with others' safety in mind as well as your own. Pay close attention to the weather forecasts and the road conditions ahead of travel, as conditions can change very quickly. Conditions can change without much warning, and frankly, weather like this may very well affect your entire day tomorrow. And that means allowing extra time to travel to and from necessary destinations. And if you do not need to be outside, don't go outside. Ahead of tonight's weather event, I'd encourage all Indianapolis residents to take time to get prepared between you and your loved ones. Have a family communications plan to keep account of everyone's safety. Make a plan to check on relatives, neighbors, particularly those who are elderly or those who are living with disabilities. And it goes without saying, bring all pets indoors. And while you prepare, please know that we will be ready. The Department of Public Works will have trucks deployed to salt the roads and to keep them as clear as possible from snow and ice. 211 will be available 24 hours a day, ready to connect you to health resources, to financial assistance to help with your energy bills, or to a nearest warm shelter if need be. And as always, our public safety agencies are standing by, prepared to respond to any emergency situation. No matter what this storm may bring within the next several days, if we are prepared, if we plan ahead, and if we reach out to care for one another, together we can ensure all of Indianapolis will stay safe. And for an update on the conditions that we can expect, I'd now like to introduce David Tusek from the National Weather Service here in Indianapolis. David, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, everybody. The latest from the National Weather Service, as the Mayor had made mention, we are going to see a fairly dramatic change in the weather from where we're at today with the 50s and rain. The change will be dramatic, and it will be occurring overnight and will take place before rush hour tomorrow. What we anticipate taking place in somewhere in the time frame between 2 and 4 a.m., literally a change in air temperatures from the 50s and rain to temperatures at freezing, probably some 2 hours after that, and below freezing before the rush hour begins. And so with that, we'll be seeing a transition over from regular rain to a freezing rain. That freezing rain will then be followed up by sleet, and that sleet will then convert over to snow probably during the course of the morning rush hour. We're not anticipating significant amounts of ice from the freezing rain, nor significant amounts from the snow. When all is said and done, perhaps between a 0.05 and a tenth of an inch of ice accumulation on surfaces, which means perhaps at the worst some isolated power outages that might result from that, but probably not. With regard to trees, possible limb breakage, but significant, probably not. With regard to snow, by the end of the day tomorrow, probably somewhere on the order of 2 to 3 inches. The majority of this will be taking place during the daylight hours tomorrow, and probably by the evening rush hour, will be winding down to probably flurries by that point in time. But the big thing here is, again, this dramatic temperature change, literally falling from 50s to below freezing in less than 2 hours. And that's going to cause a dramatic change in the conditions of surfaces out there, probably going to a freezing condition in the course of a single hour. Now, whether that's from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, that's still uncertain, but in all likelihood, that change likely will occur before the rush hour really gets going. And so with that, that has an impact on the roads. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn this over to Dan Parker, Department of Public Works. Dan?
David, thank you. Indy DPW has been monitoring the weather, is prepared for this snow event. This is now our 7th snow event of the year. DPW's snow force drivers will be on the road starting tonight at 11 o'clock. They will stay out for 12 hours, and we'll have a new shift come in at 11 a.m. on Friday. The one thing we ask all Indianapolis commuters, if you need to go out, please give yourself plenty of time. Give yourself extra time. The second thing that we ask is that you please think about the safety of our drivers. Our drivers are out there to make the roads safe for you, to prevent as much ice buildup or snow accumulation on the streets as possible. We are talking about a 14-ton truck with 6 tons of salt in it. So please beware of our drivers. You would be shocked at the number of times our drivers are cut off. We will be treating the streets with our salt that's mixed with magnesium chloride, which allows the salt to stick to the pavement. However, we'll not be able to drop that salt until it actually stops raining, because we do not want the salt to just wash away. So we'll be out all night monitoring the situation. Like I said, please think of the safety of our drivers. These are folks that are going to be out all night long, and when you commute to work in the morning, just remember that these folks have been out there trying to keep you safe. We have already dropped 12,000 tons of salt this year through all of our snow events, but the city has been stockpiled with salt. We have 20,000 tons available for usage. So with that, Mayor, question, hand it back over to you.
You might want to stay up here again. Questions?
Mr. Mayor, have you triggered that in emergency plan? Is this an official city plan, or is this just you being proactive?
This is our effort to, the fact that this dramatic drop in temperatures is going to occur overnight. It clearly may very well affect the morning commute. And as Director Parker indicated, we are hoping for the best, but we want everyone to be prepared for the worst. And one of the things that we want to encourage everyone to do tomorrow is to take extra time, to slow down. If you need to get to work or be out, you'll get to where you need to go. I have no doubt DPW will do a good job at cleaning off those roads. But the point is that we want to keep the number of accidents down and keep people as safe as possible. You know, with a dramatic shift in temperature also come added dangers, and that's why the admonition to check on family members, check on neighbors, check on the elderly, check on those with disabilities to make sure everyone stays safe. There's no real alarm yet, but I think it's prudent that we put people on notice that tonight could be a difficult night. And as I said in my remarks, may very well affect all of us all day tomorrow.
Sir, have you reached out to the conventions and bureaus as well as the airport? As you know, we are a destination city. I'm sure there's a convention of some kind downtown. How are you communicating to those folks that may be traveling to the city that are already here for an extended period of time?
Yeah, we certainly communicate with our convention bureau and the airport through National Weather Service and other agencies. You'd have to ask them specifically what warnings are being given to incoming visitors this weekend. As mayor, I am thoughtful about their safety as well, but my primary responsibility is to keep the people of Indianapolis as safe and as secure as we can get them. And as I said, I don't mean to overstate the nature of what this weather system may bring. By the same token, you know, you go back to the old adage, better safe than sorry.
Mr. Parker, have you in any way repurposed your resources? We saw some pothole patrols earlier in the week. Have you shifted how you're managing this unknown?
We've been monitoring it for several days. The pothole patrols were out because the temperature went up to 50 degrees, and when that happens, you know, chuck holes come out. But we'll have a full force ready to go tonight. Some of those folks had to go home and get some sleep before they, you know, reported for duty at 11 p.m. tonight. But to answer your specific question about conventions, we have specific crews that are dedicated for downtown for ADA ramps and clearing off Georgia Street. So we have specific pickups for dealing with the trails and all of that. So it's not just the major thoroughfares that are taken care of by DPW, but we do have you know, pickup trucks that handle the trails and Georgia Street and the ADA ramps downtown.
Mr. Jusek, 0.05 of ice is not a lot unless you're driving on it. So can you explain the dangers of what 0.05 sounds very minimal against, but if you have your Honda or your truck on it, you don't want to end up on a ditch. So can you explain that science to us?
Yeah, that is a thin amount of ice, and I know that many folks here in Indianapolis can remember back a couple Decembers when we had literally just a trace of precipitation that coated Interstate 465, and vehicles were parked overnight on 465. So it doesn't take a lot of precipitation on untreated surfaces to cause them to be slippery. But from an accumulation standpoint, those amounts, 0.05 to 1/10 of an inch of ice, is usually not significant enough to cause anything in the way of power outages. In fact, normally it's not until we see accumulations up to 3/4 of an inch before we start to see substantial power outages. So we're not expecting that in this case. And back to your comment with regard to the airport, I briefed the airport operations director before coming out here. The same information I provided here, so that they can anticipate the time frame in which air temperatures and then pavement temperatures will be falling to freezing, so they can anticipate that. They're one of the best airports in the country at winter operations, so I think they'll be on top of this.
And that's fair enough. So for those flights that leave Indianapolis, the hub cities leave either 5, 6, 7, or 8. Have you instructed them that there may be some slow going tomorrow based on whatever comes overnight?
Yeah, well, we did not instruct them with regard to that, but there certainly are a lot of FedEx operations that take place in that 3 to 5 a.m. hour, as well as then some of the other flights that take place after that. But I'm sure that they're aware that this is going to take place, and I know that the airport will do their best to make sure they've got the runways and rampways in good condition.
Can I add one more thing to that, Raphael? The first trucks that you see out on the roads will not have plows on them. They'll just have the salt, and that the primary thing with that is with ice, we don't want to plow in the front of a truck because trucks can lose traction as well. A plow could do some serious damage if a truck lost control. So the first trucks you see on the street will just have salt. When the snow starts, when they come back in to fill up, we'll put the plows on to deal with the snow.
Now, Mr. Parker, you're not dropping any salt until
Right.
precipitation. So you're dropping any sand or any other kind of traction?
The pre-treatments will begin as soon as the rain ceases.
Does the efficacy of the pre-treatments change as the rain falls? Does it become less potent or?
No, the biggest issue that we could potentially have with the weather is with the wind. The pavement temperatures are a little bit different than the air temperature. The issue that we could have with the wind is if the wind dries out the pavement. We actually want to keep the pavement wet, not dry. So if you see a dry pavement, that's where you want to actually have more precaution in your driving than if it's wet.
Okay, for Mr. Mahone, sir, obviously the folks may or may not listen to this warning, but they will call 911 when they're in a ditch. So for folks that may not listen and find themselves in an emergency tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., what is the best way to handle this? Because you're going to get the calls.
Keep using the same form to call. 911 for if it's an emergency, especially if there's injury involved. The non-emergency line, if you see something or you have any questions. We want to advise people, like the mayor said, take off early, drive within the physics of your car on the road, slow down, expect it's going to take a long time to get wherever you're going. And if everybody's cautious, we could hopefully have a safe commute tomorrow morning And if you don't have to go out, as the mayor said, please don't. We also have part of IMPD. We're going to be reaching out to our homeless shelters to make sure that we check on our homeless population as the temperature drops, and make sure any warming stations are open and ready to accept people.
But if I'm in an accident tomorrow, if I'm in that ditch, am I calling 911 or 411?
If you're in the ditch, call 911, please. If you are in that ditch, call 911. As the temperature drops in wintertime, we also remind people to start stocking up on their trunks, to have the blankets in there. A lot of people commute where they're not prepared to go in the weather because they think, oh, I'm going to work. So they're sometimes in a light jacket. Dress for the weather, please. Gloves, coat, scarf, blanket in the vehicle, and then call us 911 if they wind up in a ditch.
A possible question, your resources may be stretched depending on the number of calls. If I'm in an accident, do I just trade information, take some pictures, and move along, or do I wait for an officer to arrive on the scene?
On that, we might be moving a little slow tomorrow, depending on how many calls for service we get. So do all that. Exchange information. Take the picture of your accident. Take the picture of their vehicle. If you feel that it's minor damage that you want to settle that situation yourselves with your insurance companies, you're able to do that. But if you're more comfortable waiting for the police department, wait for us, and we'll have an accident investigator there. We are staffed, expecting because of the rush hour. We usually get a larger call of service, and we have more officers out. So again, it might be a little slow because again, the officers have to travel on the same roadways, and we're going to be precautious too, also because of the ice.
What's your message for employers tomorrow? Should they consider having people work from home?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We're going to defer until the morning to encourage or discourage people. But I mean, each individual employer ought to stay closely attuned to the weather, and you know, maybe get up a little bit earlier than normal tomorrow for the benefit of your employees and the safety of your employees. I don't think it's ever a bad idea if people can work from home, or even if you're non-essential and it's safer just to have you stay off the roads altogether. But that's obviously a decision that needs to be made by those employers. I will tell you that the city will be waiting to see how well or how ill we fare as it relates to this storm, and we'll be making decisions early tomorrow morning.
So, sir, as a major employer, will you use the same metrics if it's bad? Will you ask those people that are considered not essential to public safety? Will you ask your employees to work from home?
You mean, will I encourage private employers to do the same?
Well, you just talked about the private employers. You have no control over them.
Right.
As the employer, as the CEO of this city, will you ask your employees who are considered not essential to public safety or to the running of the city, if it is bad tomorrow, will you ask your folks to stay home?
Depending on the conditions, we may very well. We are not doing so yet because we frankly don't exactly know what's coming. So since tomorrow is a regularly scheduled workday, the best we can encourage our employees right now is to leave a little early, take as much time as need be. I think it's fair to say that when you arrive to work safely, if you're a little late, we may have to excuse that because you've done exactly as you have been instructed to do. But right now, Raphael, our warning is just we do have a weather event coming. We want everyone to take prudent caution so that everyone stays safe, and we'll continue to assess as the evening and the morning hours present themselves. Thank you all very much.
Do you mind writing a note to my?
It will be written to Russ.
So we should
Let him know.
the timing is not real certain.
Oh, so Russ is who I need to
Let
write?
him know, let him know.
Go from a
Maybe not,
late
you know, the
sound
work
to
from home philosophy that you all